The Disney Cruise Line has been getting more and more popular over the years, and after our most recent Disney cruise adventure, it's easy to see why. Take the most relaxing, stress-free vacation you can imagine, add in the fact that most everything is included, and top it all off with the ability to go to new places and see new things, and have that Disney service on top of all of it, and you get a taste of why it's so magical. Disney is clearly seeing how successful the cruise line is simply because they are expanding the fleet with 3 new ships. Now, I've made several videos about the rumors and what we know and what I'm hoping for with these new ships. You can find those videos on my channel and linked at the I button right there. But basically what we know now is when they will be released. In 2021, we'll get 1 ship, 2022 will be another, and 2023 will see the 3rd new ship. I know it can feel like a long time, but before you know it, we are going to see the Disney Cruise Line fleet almost double in size from 4 ships to 7. Now, we have talked about where I think these new ships might go in the future, but we haven't gotten any confirmations from Disney. But now it looks like there may have been a small leak about how many ships will be calling Port Canaveral home. Not too long ago, we heard about some major construction that is planned for Port Canaveral to make way for other ships, but it did not include Disney ships. Until now. Back in April, we heard about a $150 million project to expand Terminal 3 at Port Canaveral. When I first heard about this, I did a little bit of digging to figure out if it could be for the Disney Cruise Line, and it might be, but it's extremely unlikely. This project is likely for Carnival and maybe Royal Caribbean and maybe even Norwegian Cruise Line, and not for Disney. But now it looks like there is news about Disney. A few weeks later, we heard even more from Port Canaveral and learned about the idea of a study that they were considering for the expansion of Terminal 8 and Terminal 10. Now, Terminal 10 is almost exclusively used for Norwegian Cruise Line, so I really didn't think it had much to do with Disney until I read something new, which is why I'm making this video. Recently, the governing body of Port Canaveral approved this study, but what does it mean? Why do we care so much about the study? The reason why is because we have to imagine it originated from somewhere. You don't just make $150 million upgrades just because you feel like it. There's always a reason behind it and some underlying conversation that we don't get to hear. And considering the fact that Disney is always thinking ahead, I would imagine that they're in close talks with the governing body of Port Canaveral and probably have some different thoughts up their sleeves as they discuss these things. Now, this leak does not come from Disney, and I don't know if it's really a leak or if Disney coordinated with the executive office of Port Canaveral, but they had a very interesting quote. They say, and I quote here, Disney's intention longer term is to add another full-time vessel to the port. He's referring to Port Canaveral. The executive director goes on to say, so we'll have more activity than Terminal 8, which is Disney's primary terminal, can currently handle. The very first question that comes to my mind is, how did the Port Canaveral executive office know about this? They had to have had discussions with Disney saying, here's what our future plans are, we want Port Canaveral to be ready for us. There is no doubt that they are talking together, and this basically confirms for us that there will be 3 ships calling Port Canaveral home. Now, that's not all. There is even more information that the executive office of Port Canaveral gave us. Cruise Terminal 10, which is currently used for Norwegian Cruise Line, comes into play as well, because in the future Disney is likely to regularly have 2 ships in the port on the same day. You and I know that the executive office of Port Canaveral and the governing body would not say, let's set aside hundreds of millions of dollars for an upgrade for Disney's cruise line terminal if they were not 100% sure that a 3rd ship is coming and 2 ships could be docked at the exact same time at Port Canaveral. Someone told them, and if I had to guess, it's Disney who told them that 3 ships will call Port Canaveral home very, very soon. Now, this is extremely exciting. More itineraries from Port Canaveral. We'll probably go to new places, maybe even longer itineraries. I cannot wait to see what's in store, but this is not it. They did not mention which ships will be coming to Port Canaveral. Do they know? We don't know. So it could be, hypothetically, the Dream and the Fantasy and 1 new ship, and the other new ships are somewhere totally different. Or it could be all 3 new ships call Port Canaveral home and the Dream and Fantasy go somewhere else, or a combination. We have no idea, and it just makes it even more exciting. On top of all of this, we have heard something else. Disney is apparently, and this is a rumor, planning on expanding their minivan transportation service to Port Canaveral. Along with the cruise line Magical Express that takes guests from Orlando International Airport or a Disney World resort to Port Canaveral, the rumor is that the minivan service will do the same thing, but just for you and your family. You don't have to go in the bus if you don't want to. You can take the minivan for an additional fee to Port Canaveral and back to Orlando International after your cruise. Now, I do have to reiterate, at the time of filming, this is just a rumor, but the idea alone does show us that Disney is really committed to the expansion of the Disney Cruise Line. Now, there's no word on price yet, but if I had to guess, a minivan from Orlando International Airport to Port Canaveral or vice versa, I would guess it would be maybe between $150 and $200. That's just a guess. We'll wait for Disney to confirm it. It's exciting, isn't it? The idea that Disney is adding more cruise ships to Port Canaveral. There'll be more itineraries, and it begs the question, will this make the cruise line a little bit less expensive from Port Canaveral? My dad and I were recently talking about this, and we both agree that it's very unlikely that the price will go down. Maybe they'll have other itineraries that are really short, and those shorter itineraries will be a lower cost, but I have this strong feeling like the standard, maybe 7-night, 5-night, I don't think the price will change. It might even go up. So what do you think? Do you think that Port Canaveral Executive Office is just guessing and expanding the terminal just because? Or do you think they have inside information from Disney and have been in talks with Disney before, and they know that a third cruise ship from Disney is going to call Port Canaveral home? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and what you're hoping for in the future. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for being a part of the magic with me. Until next time, have a magical day.